10,000 words in English. Levels from A0 to C2. Part number 10. Welcome to the new series of the Talk English Fluently channel. In this fresh collection, I will be explaining 10,000 words that cover levels from A0 to C2. This is a vast and rich compilation of words that will greatly enhance your English language skills. Please watch the video until the end, and if you have any suggestions for improving future videos in this series, kindly leave them in the comments section. I appreciate your support through comments, likes, and subscribing to my channel. Ready to begin? Let's go! Part number 10. 500 words. Surmise.
I surmise that she will arrive soon.
Without more evidence, we can only surmise his motives.
Minuscule.
His handwriting was so minuscule that it was hard to read.
The amount of sugar in the recipe is minuscule.
Violence.
The movie contained scenes of violence.
Violence erupted in the streets after the game.
Dissociate.
It's important to dissociate work from personal life.
She tried to dissociate herself from the scandal.
Spur.
The coach used praise to spur the team to victory.
Her success will spur others to follow their dreams.
Framework.
This plan provides a solid framework for our project.
The architect designed a strong framework for the building.
Peasant.
The peasant worked hard in the fields.
In medieval times, a peasant had very few rights.
Inundate.
He was inundated with emails after the announcement.
The heavy rains will inundate the low-lying areas.
Gobble.
Don't gobble your food, eat slowly.
The kids gobble up the cookies in no time.
Sent.
She wore a perfume with a delicate scent.
The scent of roses filled the garden.
Sideline.
He was injured and had to watch the game from the sideline.
The new policy may sideline some employees.
Tactile.
She enjoyed the tactile sensation of the fabric.
The toy had a tactile surface that kids loved to touch.
Flick.
She gave the light switch a flick.
With a quick flick of his wrist, he lit the match.
Nonsense.
Stop talking nonsense and be serious.
The story he told was pure nonsense.
Allegory.
The novel is an allegory about human nature.
His speech was filled with allegory and symbolism.
Slumber.
After a long day, he was ready for a deep slumber.
The baby fell into a peaceful slumber.
Insight.
His words were intended to incite a reaction.
They were accused of trying to incite violence.
Exchequer.
The Exchequer reported a surplus this year.
The funds were allocated from the National Exchequer.
Enlarge.
They planned to enlarge the kitchen.
He used a magnifying glass to enlarge the text.
Sampler.
The sampler CD included tracks from various artists.
She bought a sampler pack of teas.
Decked.
The halls were decked with festive decorations.
She was decked out in a beautiful gown.
Fasten.
He used a pin to fasten the paper to the board.
Please fasten your seatbelt.
Aerospace.
She works in the aerospace industry.
Aerospace engineering is a challenging field.
Vicious.
He was known for his vicious temper.
The dog had a vicious bite.
Panda.
The panda ate bamboo at the zoo.
Panda conservation efforts are important.
Rhetoric.
The politician's rhetoric was persuasive.
His speech was filled with powerful rhetoric.
Rehearse.
The actors will rehearse their lines before the show.
We need to rehearse the presentation one more time.
Prone.
Some plants are more prone to disease.
He is prone to making mistakes when he's tired.
Airwave.
The new song is all over the airwaves.
They plan to broadcast the event on the airwaves.
Uprising.
The people staged an uprising against the government.
The uprising was quickly suppressed.
Bleak.
The future looks bleak for the struggling company.
The weather was bleak and cold.
Commonplace.
It was commonplace to see street vendors.
Smartphones are now commonplace.
Hamper.
The heavy traffic will hamper our progress.
She didn't want to hamper his career.
Commune.
The artist's commune was a place of creativity.
They live in a small commune.
Reverent.
The Reverend gave an inspiring sermon.
Everyone respected the Reverend for his wisdom.
Spade.
The spade was sharp and ready for work.
He used a spade to dig the garden.
Grammatical.
The sentence had several grammatical errors.
She corrected his grammatical mistakes.
Rant.
Her rant was filled with frustration.
He went on a long rant about the new rules.
Kinsman.
He was my father's closest kinsman.
They invited every kinsman to the reunion.
Candid.
His candid remarks were appreciated.
She gave a candid interview.
Loin.
The chef prepared a delicious loin of lamb.
He bought a loin cut from the butcher.
Foresee.
She could foresee a bright future for the company.
He didn't foresee any problems with the plan.
Absent.
He was absent from the meeting.
Her absent look showed she was daydreaming.
Cabbage.
Cabbage is a nutritious vegetable.
She made a soup with cabbage and carrots.
Tablet.
She took a tablet for her headache.
He bought a new tablet for work.
Integrity.
The integrity of the data is crucial.
His integrity is beyond question.
Diesel.
The truck runs on diesel fuel.
Diesel engines are known for their efficiency.
Validate.
The test results will validate our hypothesis.
She needed to validate her parking ticket.
Sumptuous.
They enjoyed a sumptuous meal at the restaurant.
The palace was decorated in sumptuous fabrics.
Clockwise.
The dancers moved in a clockwise direction.
Turn the knob clockwise to increase the volume.
Bomb.
She applied lip balm to her chapped lips.
The lotion acted as a soothing balm for her skin.
Kettle.
He poured water from the kettle into the cup.
The kettle was boiling on the stove.
Antagonism.
There was a lot of antagonism between the two rivals.
The debate stirred up antagonism among the participants.
Whiskey.
Whiskey is often enjoyed on the rocks.
He poured a glass of whiskey.
Hay.
The barn was filled with hay.
The horse ate fresh hay from the manger.
Tandem.
The two projects were developed in tandem.
They rode a tandem bicycle.
Disperse.
The company will disperse funds to the employees.
The charity plans to disperse the donations to those in need.
Herpes.
She is being treated for herpes.
Herpes is a common viral infection.
Adjective.
An adjective describes a noun.
Happy is an example of an adjective.
Vapor.
Water vapor condensed on the windows.
The vapor from the hot soup fogged up his glasses.
Barbaric.
The attack was described as barbaric.
They were shocked by his barbaric behavior.
Premature.
They made a premature decision.
The baby was born premature.
Roses.
She planted roses in her garden.
The roses bloomed beautifully in spring.
Chieftain.
They honored the chieftain at the ceremony.
The chieftain led his tribe with wisdom.
Hereditary.
The disease is hereditary.
Hereditary traits are passed from parents to children.
Organ.
He played the organ at the church.
The heart is a vital organ.
Enterprising.
She is an enterprising young woman.
His enterprising spirit led him to start a business.
Warranty.
They offered an extended warranty on the car.
The product comes with a 1-year warranty.
Avail.
He tried to help, but to no avail.
She used all her resources to no avail.
Debacle.
They were embarrassed by the debacle at the meeting.
The event was a complete debacle.
Anal.
He was very anal about organization.
His anal tendencies annoyed his coworkers.
Gene.
Gene therapy offers new hope for patients.
The trait is linked to a specific gene.
Horn.
He honked the car horn.
The bull had a sharp horn.
Embrace.
She decided to embrace the new opportunities.
They shared a warm embrace.
Dynasty.
The Ming dynasty ruled China for centuries.
The family built a business dynasty.
Flounder.
The project started to flounder after losing funding.
The fish began to flounder in the shallow water.
Trawl.
They used a net to trawl for fish.
He likes to trawl through old records for rare finds.
Necklace.
The necklace was made of pearls.
She wore a beautiful necklace.
Vex.
His constant questions began to vex her.
The problem continued to vex the researchers.
Electrolyte.
Electrolyte balance is important for health.
Drinking sports drinks can help replenish electrolytes.
Mere.
It was a mere coincidence.
His effort was mere pretense.
Ecumenical.
Ecumenical efforts aim to unify different denominations.
The conference was an ecumenical gathering.
Vocal.
She is very vocal about her opinions.
The vocal performance was outstanding.
Marital.
His marital status is single.
They attended marital counseling.
Slur.
His speech was difficult to understand due to a slur.
She made an offensive slur during the argument.
Recoil.
She couldn't help but recoil at the sight.
He felt the recoil of the gun.
Explicit.
The instructions were very explicit.
The movie contains explicit content.
Abyss.
Their finances were in an abyss of debt.
He stared into the dark abyss.
Upbeat.
She always has an upbeat attitude.
The music has a very upbeat tempo.
Restitution.
The victims demanded restitution for their losses.
He was ordered to pay restitution.
Murky.
The water in the pond was murky.
His past is murky and mysterious.
Bargain.
They made a bargain to share the profits.
She found a great bargain at the store.
Liable.
He is liable for the damages.
The company is liable for any injuries.
Shaggy.
He wore a shaggy sweater.
The dog has a shaggy coat.
Suffrage.
The movement fought for women's suffrage.
Universal suffrage is a cornerstone of democracy.
Beguile.
The magician's tricks would beguile anyone.
She used charm to beguile her audience.
Testicle.
The injury affected his left testicle.
Testicle health is important for reproductive function.
Colony.
The country was once a British colony.
The ants built a large colony.
Chatter.
The chatter in the room was loud.
Birds chatter in the morning.
Benchmark.
The company set a high benchmark for quality.
This test will be a benchmark for future exams.
Rattle.
The loud noise made the windows rattle.
She shook the baby's toy to hear it rattle.
Heirloom.
They passed the heirloom down through generations.
The necklace is a family heirloom.
Obscene.
The movie was rated for its obscene language.
He made an obscene gesture.
Ping.
The car made a ping sound when it started.
She heard the ping of an incoming message.
Temperance.
The group promoted temperance and sobriety.
He showed great temperance by not overeating.
Macroeconomic.
Macroeconomic policies affect the entire economy.
The report focused on macroeconomic trends.
Hammock.
She lay in the hammock reading a book.
They set up a hammock between two trees.
Facet.
The diamond sparkled from every facet.
Honesty is an important facet of his personality.
Whip.
She used the zip on her backpack.
The zip of the jacket got stuck.
Officiate.
The referee was chosen to officiate the game.
He will officiate at the wedding.
Predominate.
In this region, pine trees predominate.
His work tends to predominate in the field of research.
Menopause.
Menopause usually occurs in middle age.
She is experiencing symptoms of menopause.
Foal.
The mare gave birth to a foal.
The young foal ran in the field.
Ozone.
High levels of ozone can be harmful to breathe.
The ozone layer protects us from UV rays.
Margin.
She wrote notes in the margin of the book.
The margin of error in the experiment was small.
Corpse.
They found the corpse in the abandoned building.
The detective examined the corpse.
Quarrel.
The siblings had a quarrel over the toy.
Their quarrel lasted for hours.
Literal.
The story was meant to be taken in a literal sense.
His literal interpretation of the joke ruined it.
Eminence.
He achieved eminence in his field.
The scientist's eminence was well known.
Truant.
They hired a counselor to help truant children.
The student was often truant from school.
Initiate.
She decided to initiate the conversation.
The company will initiate new policies.
Brandish.
The robber brandished a gun during the heist.
He began to brandish the sword.
Sparse.
The vegetation in the desert is sparse.
Her notes were sparse but informative.
Mockery.
The trial was a mockery of justice.
His attempt at singing was met with mockery.
Explosion.
The explosion was heard for miles.
They investigated the cause of the explosion.
Intelligence.
The agency gathered intelligence on the subject.
She has high emotional intelligence.
Microscope.
They examined the cells under a microscope.
The microscope revealed the tiny details.
Interminable.
They were stuck in interminable traffic.
The meeting felt interminable.
Justify.
He tried to justify his actions.
She couldn't justify the expense.
Disabled.
They provide support for disabled individuals.
The disabled vehicle blocked the road.
Kilowatt.
The heater uses 1 kilowatt of power.
They measured the energy in kilowatt hours.
Reap.
They plan to reap a good harvest this year.
You will reap the benefits of hard work.
Carbonate.
They used a machine to carbonate the water.
Carbonate levels in the soil affect plant growth.
Bundle.
They offered a bundle deal on the products.
She carried a bundle of firewood.
Bow.
He sat on the bough of the tree.
The heavy snow broke the bough.
Belief.
His belief in ghosts scared him at night.
She held a strong belief in justice.
Salami.
He made a sandwich with salami.
The salami was sliced thin.
Shield.
They used sunscreen as a shield against UV rays.
The knight carried a shield.
Headhunt.
The company plans to headhunt for a new CEO.
He was headhunted by several top firms.
Spike.
He wore shoes with spike heels.
There was a spike in sales during the holidays.
Doze.
He took a quick doze on the couch.
She often dozed off during long meetings.
Joiner.
The joiner crafted the wooden frames.
A skilled joiner made the cabinets.
Veranda.
They sat on the veranda enjoying the view.
The house has a large veranda.
Outweigh.
Her good qualities outweigh her flaws.
The benefits outweigh the risks.
Tremendous.
The team did a tremendous job.
They felt a tremendous sense of relief.
Boisterous.
His boisterous laugh filled the room.
The children were boisterous at the party.
Tongue.
She used a tongue to flip the meat.
The blacksmith used tongue to hold the hot metal.
Spurn.
She felt hurt when he spurned her invitation.
He decided to spurn the offer.
Dope.
The test revealed traces of dope in his system.
He was caught using dope.
Distill.
The factory will distill the alcohol.
They plan to distill the water for purity.
Respond.
She didn't respond to his email.
He was quick to respond to the question.
Daisy.
The garden was full of blooming daisies.
She picked a white daisy from the field.
Withdraw.
He decided to withdraw from the competition.
She will withdraw money from the bank.
Awash.
The beach was awash with seashells.
The city was awash with tourists.
Courteous.
The staff was very courteous.
It's important to be courteous to others.
Angst.
Teenage angst is a common theme in literature.
He felt a deep sense of angst about the future.
Tariff.
The government imposed a new tariff on imports.
The tariff on steel has increased.
Instill.
The teacher tried to instill a love of reading.
They aim to instill good values in their children.
Consist.
The dessert will consist of 3 layers.
His duties consist of managing the team.
Chess.
Chess requires strategic thinking.
He loves to play chess with his friends.
Buffet.
The restaurant offers a dinner buffet.
The strong winds buffet the coastline.
Accurate.
She gave an accurate description of the scene.
The test results were accurate.
Woo.
He tried to woo her with flowers.
The company aims to woo new customers.
Engender.
Her speech helped to engender support for the cause.
The changes may engender new opportunities.
Curve.
The road has a sharp curve.
The data showed a significant curve.
Defer.
He chose to defer his college admission.
They decided to defer the meeting until next week.
Ideology.
Their political ideology is very conservative.
He studied the ideology of various movements.
Succeed.
Hard work is essential to succeed.
He wants to succeed in his career.
Mercantile.
The town had a thriving mercantile center.
They studied the mercantile history of the region.
Saffron.
The saffron crocus is a beautiful flower.
She added saffron to the rice for flavor.
Harness.
They used a harness for safety.
The farmer had to harness the horse.
Organism.
The pond is full of tiny organisms.
The scientist discovered a new organism.
Reform.
They plan to reform the education system.
The new law aims to reform healthcare.
Shoot.
Children enjoy sliding down a water chute at the amusement park.
The clothes were sent down a chute to the laundry room.
Quarterback.
He played as the team's quarterback.
The quarterback threw a perfect pass.
Diss.
He felt bad for the way he dissed his friend.
It's not nice to diss someone.
Rocked.
The boat rocked gently on the waves.
The scandal rocked the community.
Blaspheme.
He was accused of blasphemy during the heated argument.
It's considered a sin to blaspheme in many religions.
Squabble.
The siblings often squabble over toys.
Their squabble turned into a full-blown argument.
Liberate.
She felt liberated after quitting her job.
The army aims to liberate the occupied city.
Char.
They decided to char the meat over an open flame.
The edges of the paper began to char.
Pseudonym.
She adopted a pseudonym for privacy.
The author wrote under a pseudonym.
Honeymoon.
They went to Hawaii for their honeymoon.
The honeymoon phase of their marriage was blissful.
Alike.
Their tastes in music are very alike.
The twins look exactly alike.
QUI.
Que is French for who.
In French class, we learned that QUI means who.
Kyrie.
She named her son Tyree after her grandfather.
Tyree is a talented artist.
Cynical.
He has a cynical view of politics.
Her cynical attitude made it hard to be optimistic.
Collide.
Their ideas collide on many issues.
The two cars collided at the intersection.
Bequest.
She left a generous bequest to the charity.
His bequest included valuable art pieces.
Cord.
He tied the package with a strong cord.
The lamp's cord is too short.
Diagonal.
Cut the sandwich in a diagonal.
The design features diagonal stripes.
Brook.
The brook flowed gently through the forest.
They had a picnic by the brook.
Carcinoma.
She was diagnosed with a type of carcinoma.
The doctor explained the treatment options for carcinoma.
Gleam.
There was a gleam of hope in his eyes.
The car had a bright gleam after being washed.
Segment.
The orange was divided into segments.
This segment of the show is sponsored by a local business.
Pinch.
Add a pinch of salt to the recipe.
She felt a pinch on her arm.
Grave.
They visited her grave to pay their respects.
He had a grave expression on his face.
Cannibal.
Cannibal behavior is rare in nature.
The story of the cannibal shocked everyone.
Edgy.
He felt edgy before the big test.
The movie has an edgy vibe.
Evenly.
The team is evenly matched against their opponents.
Spread the butter evenly on the bread.
Isotope.
Carbon-14 is a radioactive isotope used in dating ancient artifacts.
The lab studied the behavior of the isotope under different conditions.
Puncture.
Be careful not to puncture the balloon.
He had to fix the tire after it got a puncture.
Vagary.
The vagary of the weather caught everyone off guard.
His sudden change in mood was just another vagary of his personality.
Aristocrat.
She spoke with the grace and confidence of an aristocrat.
The aristocrat lived in a grand mansion.
Idealistic.
Her idealistic views often clashed with reality.
He remained idealistic about changing the world.
Fledge.
It's fascinating to watch the chicks grow and fledge.
The young birds will fledge in a few weeks.
Ligament.
He tore a ligament in his knee during the game.
The surgeon repaired the damaged ligament.
Prawn.
The recipe calls for fresh prawn and garlic.
She ordered a prawn cocktail as an appetizer.
Exceed.
You must not exceed the speed limit.
The results exceed our expectations.
Velocity.
The ball's velocity increased as it rolled downhill.
The car reached a high velocity on the straightaway.
Almond.
She added almond slices to the salad.
The cake was topped with almond icing.
Coincide.
The events coincide with the holiday weekend.
Their vacations coincide this year.
Centrifuge.
The lab used a centrifuge to separate the blood components.
This centrifuge spins at a very high speed.
Squire.
He trained to become a squire before earning knighthood.
The squire assisted the knight during the tournament.
Ion.
An ion is an atom that has lost or gained electrons.
The solid would bear the loads and the liquid would help ions move between the electrodes.
Hamster.
The hamster ran on its wheel all night.
She has a pet hamster named Nibbles.
Impervious.
The material is impervious to water.
She seemed impervious to criticism.
Iconography.
They studied the iconography in ancient Egyptian art.
The iconography of the painting reveals deep religious symbolism.
Concourse.
The airport concourse was bustling with travelers.
They met in the main concourse of the station.
Quaint.
She lives in a quaint cottage by the sea.
The village has a quaint charm.
Racket.
The children made a racket while playing outside.
He plays tennis with a new racket.
Warn.
The Weather Service issued a bulletin to warn residents of the storm.
They put up signs to warn about the slippery floor.
Rubric.
The teacher provided a rubric for the assignment.
Each section of the test had its own rubric.
Invigorate.
The new project seemed to invigorate the team.
A morning run can invigorate you for the day.
Stag.
The stag roamed the forest.
They attended a stag party before the wedding.
Solitary.
The prisoner was kept in solitary confinement.
He enjoys solitary walks in the park.
Wallow.
The pigs love to wallow in the mud.
Don't wallow in self-pity.
Archaic.
Many archaic words are no longer in use.
The building had an archaic design.
Transparent.
The glass is clear and transparent.
She appreciated the company's transparent policies.
Simplicity.
He admired the simplicity of her lifestyle.
The simplicity of the design was elegant.
Abode.
Welcome to our humble abode.
The cottage became their permanent abode.
Satire.
He enjoys reading political satire.
The play is a brilliant satire on society.
Scoot.
She told the kids to scoot over.
He had to scoot out of the way quickly.
Dysfunction.
The machine showed signs of dysfunction.
The family suffered from deep dysfunction.
Flinch.
He didn't flinch when the ball came at him.
She tried not to flinch during the scary scene.
Dishonest.
The dishonest employee was fired.
It's wrong to be dishonest with your friends.
Sick.
The command was to sick the dog on the intruder.
In her quote, she wrote their sick house to show the original error.
Beneficial.
The new policy will be beneficial for all employees.
Exercise is beneficial for your health.
Patronage.
The artist appreciated the patronage of his fans.
The business thrived under royal patronage.
Yearn.
He yearns for his hometown.
She began to yearn for a simpler life.
Tinkle.
She heard the tinkle of the wind chimes.
The tinkle of the bell signaled the start of class.
Trustee.
The trustee managed the funds responsibly.
He was appointed as a trustee of the estate.
Allay.
He tried to allay her fears.
The doctor managed to allay the patient's concerns.
Pill.
The doctor prescribed a new pill for his condition.
She took a pill for her headache.
Civil.
They had a civil discussion about the issue.
He works as a civil engineer.
Jab.
The doctor administered a flu jab.
He gave her a playful jab in the ribs.
Motif.
The recurring motif in the novel is hope.
The artist used a floral motif in her designs.
Aid.
She works as a teacher's aide.
The senator's aide scheduled the meeting.
Allusion.
The book makes several allusions to classical literature.
His speech included an allusion to historical events.
Tango.
She took lessons to learn how to tango.
They performed a beautiful tango.
Melon.
He enjoyed a slice of juicy melon.
The melon was perfectly ripe.
Proffer.
She proffered a solution to the problem.
He chose to proffer his resignation.
Whittle.
He likes to whittle wood into small figures.
The list was whittled down to just a few names.
Annex.
The country decided to annex the neighboring territory.
They plan to build an annex to the main building.
Forge.
The blacksmith will forge a new sword.
They managed to forge a strong partnership.
Vengeance.
The character's quest for vengeance drove the plot.
He sought vengeance for the wrong done to him.
Upsurge.
There was an upsurge in demand for the product.
They noticed an upsurge of interest in the event.
Bible.
The hotel room had a Bible in the drawer.
She reads the Bible every morning.
Hilarious.
The movie was absolutely hilarious.
His joke was so hilarious that everyone laughed.
Supplement.
The course supplement includes additional readings.
She takes a daily vitamin supplement.
Retrieve.
The dog was trained to retrieve the ball.
She tried to retrieve her lost files.
Panacea.
They hoped the new policy would be a panacea for the issues.
There is no panacea for all life's problems.
Avenue.
They walked down a tree-lined avenue.
The avenue of research led to new discoveries.
Amid.
They stood amid the crowd, looking for their friends.
She found calm amid the chaos.
Attenuate.
The medicine will attenuate the symptoms.
They used a filter to attenuate the noise.
Decode.
The software can decode various file formats.
He managed to decode the secret message.
Armed.
The guards were heavily armed.
The soldiers were armed with the latest weapons.
Spook.
He dressed up as a spook for Halloween.
The loud noise can spook the horses.
Fable.
The fable taught a valuable lesson.
Aesop's fables are famous worldwide.
Botch.
The project was a complete botch.
He managed to botch the simple task.
Precede.
A brief introduction will precede the lecture.
Lightning often precedes thunder.
Rebate.
He applied for a tax rebate.
The company offered a rebate on their products.
Orthodoxy.
The church strictly follows orthodoxy.
He challenged the orthodoxy of the traditional views.
Anthropology.
Anthropology explores the diversity of human cultures.
She studied anthropology in college.
Fascism.
Fascism rose in Europe in the early 20th century.
They protested against the spread of fascism.
Emphatic.
Her response was clear and emphatic.
He was emphatic about the need for change.
Tint.
She added a blue tint to her hair.
The windows had a slight tint to reduce glare.
Impose.
He didn't want to impose on their hospitality.
The government will impose new regulations.
Dictate.
The boss tried to dictate every detail of the project.
Circumstances dictate that we change our plans.
Bubble.
The water began to bubble as it boiled.
The soap bubble floated in the air.
Sociable.
She's a very sociable person who loves meeting new people.
The event was designed to be sociable and fun.
Zeal.
Her zeal for the cause was inspiring.
He approached the project with great zeal.
Micro.
They used a micro lens to photograph the insect.
The microchip is a crucial part of the device.
Flail.
The dancer seemed to flail gracefully.
He began to flail his arms in the water.
Fleet.
The company owns a fleet of delivery trucks.
The Navy deployed a fleet to the region.
Consensual.
They entered into a consensual relationship.
The agreement was consensual between all parties.
Greenery.
The room was decorated with beautiful greenery.
They enjoyed the lush greenery of the park.
Refinance.
The bank offers options to refinance loans.
They decided to refinance their mortgage.
Slack.
There was some slack in the rope.
He tends to slack off when no one is watching.
Intolerable.
They found his behavior intolerable.
The heat was almost intolerable.
Linguistic.
She pursued a degree in linguistic studies.
The linguistic diversity of the region is fascinating.
Insurgent.
The insurgent group planned an attack.
The army fought against the insurgent forces.
Hermit.
The old hermit lived alone in the mountains.
He became a hermit after retiring.
Propaganda.
The film was criticized as political propaganda.
The government spread propaganda to control the narrative.
Celebrate.
They plan to celebrate their anniversary.
The town will celebrate the festival next month.
Hallucinate.
Some drugs can cause people to hallucinate.
The patient began to hallucinate due to the fever.
Laser.
They used a laser to perform the surgery.
The cat chased the laser pointer across the floor.
Commensurate.
They received benefits commensurate with their contributions.
His salary is commensurate with his experience.
Knickers.
She wore a pair of old-fashioned knickers.
The child pulled up her knickers after swimming.
Inlay.
The dentist did an inlay to restore the tooth.
The table was decorated with mother-of-pearl inlay.
Dilemma.
She faced a dilemma about whether to stay in her hometown or move to the city.
The ethical dilemma made the decision even more challenging.
Stipend.
Each student gets a monthly stipend for living expenses.
The intern received a small stipend for her work.
Strenuous.
The hike up the mountain was very strenuous.
He avoided strenuous activities after his surgery.
Budget.
She prepared a monthly budget to manage her expenses.
They had to stick to a tight budget for their vacation.
Basketball.
He loves playing basketball with his friends.
The basketball game was exciting to watch.
Vintage.
They have a collection of vintage cars.
She wore a vintage dress to the party.
Vertebrate.
A fish is a type of vertebrate.
Humans and birds are both vertebrate animals.
Clad.
The statue was clad in gold leaf.
The knight was clad in shining armor.
Yawn.
Look yon mountain to see the sunrise.
The village lies beyond yon forest.
Devote.
He devoted his life to scientific research.
She decided to devote more time to her hobbies.
Preposterous.
The idea that the earth is flat is preposterous.
It was preposterous to think he could finish the project in one day.
Breadth.
The breadth of the river made it difficult to cross.
The breadth of his knowledge is impressive.
Famine.
The famine affected millions of people in the region.
They organized a relief effort to help those suffering from famine.
Dominate.
Her strong personality tends to dominate conversations.
The team continues to dominate the league.
Diverge.
Their paths began to diverge after high school.
The two roads diverge at the edge of town.
Contentious.
They had a contentious debate about politics.
The meeting became contentious over the proposed changes.
Sundry.
The shop sells sundry items, from groceries to hardware.
He carried out sundry tasks throughout the day.
Staircase.
She tripped on the staircase and sprained her ankle.
The old house has a beautiful wooden staircase.
Basilica.
The basilica is known for its stunning architecture.
They visited the ancient basilica during their trip to Rome.
Boy.
They swam out to the bay and back.
The boat was anchored near a buoy.
Harmonic.
The choir achieved a perfect harmonic blend.
He enjoyed the harmonic sounds of the orchestra.
Audacious.
She made an audacious decision to start her own business.
His audacious plan shocked everyone.
Designate.
They will designate a leader for the project.
The area was designated as a national park.
Milligram.
She took a 500 milligram tablet of vitamin C.
The medicine dosage is measured in milligrams.
Rut.
The car got stuck in a deep rut.
He felt like his life was in a rut and needed a change.
Pence.
His pants got muddy during the hike.
She bought a new pair of pants for work.
Shack.
They found shelter in an old shack.
The fisherman lived in a small shack by the lake.
Radiology.
He had an appointment in the radiology department.
She specializes in radiology at the hospital.
Bowel.
The patient was experiencing severe bowel pain.
He needed surgery to correct a bowel obstruction.
Genuine.
The signature was verified as genuine.
She gave him a genuine smile.
Watt.
The light bulb uses 60 watts of power.
They measured the output in watts.
Contagious.
Her laughter was contagious, and soon everyone was laughing.
The flu is highly contagious.
Visual.
The movie had stunning visual effects.
She is a very visual learner.
Activate.
The alarm will activate if someone tries to break in.
You need to activate your account to use the service.
Reek.
The storm will wreak havoc on the coastal areas.
He vowed to wreak revenge on those who wronged him.
Whirlwind.
The whirlwind tour covered several countries in just a week.
Their romance was a whirlwind affair.
Crony.
He was known to favor his old cronies in business deals.
The politician and his cronies were implicated in the scandal.
Ratio.
Mix the ingredients in a 2-to-1 ratio of flour to water.
The ratio of students to teachers is 20-1.
Kayak.
They went on a kayak trip down the river.
He learned to paddle a kayak over the summer.
Hazel.
The forest was full of hazel trees.
She has beautiful hazel eyes.
Tuple.
The strong winds could topple the fence.
They worked together to topple the old regime.
Formidable.
Climbing the mountain was a formidable challenge.
The boxer was a formidable opponent.
Enunciate.
Please enunciate your words clearly.
The teacher asked the student to enunciate the difficult terms.
Trout.
The dish was made with fresh trout.
They caught a large trout in the river.
Enthusiastic.
She was very enthusiastic about the new project.
The crowd gave an enthusiastic applause.
Squirm.
He tried not to squirm during the long lecture.
The baby began to squirm in her arms.
Snore.
His loud snore kept everyone awake.
She began to snore softly on the couch.
Brothel.
The brothel was shut down by the authorities.
The building was known to be a brothel.
Avalanche.
The ski resort was closed due to the risk of an avalanche.
They survived an avalanche while hiking.
Snug.
She felt snug and warm by the fire.
The baby was wrapped snug in a blanket.
Cultivate.
Farmers cultivate their land to grow crops.
He worked to cultivate a good relationship with his neighbors.
Pulley.
The pulley system made the task much easier.
They used a pulley to lift the heavy load.
Coffin.
The coffin was lowered into the grave.
They decorated the coffin with flowers.
Soggy.
She didn't like soggy cereal for breakfast.
The bread was soggy after being left out in the rain.
Tile.
They installed new tiles in the bathroom.
The kitchen floor was made of ceramic tiles.
Psalm.
The choir sang a beautiful psalm.
She recited a psalm at the service.
Tentative.
They made a tentative plan to meet next week.
His tentative steps showed his uncertainty.
Tapestry.
She admired the intricate tapestry in the museum.
The tapestry hung on the castle wall.
Dioxide.
Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas.
The experiment measured the release of dioxide.
Stow.
He managed to stow all his gear in the car.
Please stow your luggage in the overhead compartment.
Brag.
He likes to brag about his achievements.
She couldn't help but brag about her new job.
Steadfast.
His steadfast loyalty was commendable.
She remained steadfast in her beliefs.
Renal.
The patient was suffering from renal failure.
The doctor specializes in renal diseases.
Locality.
They moved to a new locality last year.
The locality is known for its scenic beauty.
Sperm.
The clinic offers sperm donation services.
He studied sperm cells under the microscope.
Gadget.
The kitchen gadget makes cooking easier.
He loves trying out the latest gadgets.
Subsum.
The small company was subsumed by the larger corporation.
His interests were subsumed by his work.
Venison.
He hunted deer to provide venison for his family.
They served venison at the dinner party.
Threshold.
She stood on the threshold of a new adventure.
The pain threshold varies from person to person.
Suckle.
The kitten tried to suckle from its mother.
The mother cow began to suckle her calf.
Harbor.
The ship docked at the harbor.
They found a safe harbor during the storm.
Keg.
The bar has several kegs of different ales.
They brought a keg of beer to the party.
Brood.
The hen sat on her brood of eggs.
She tended to brood over her problems.
Hip.
The dancer moved her hip gracefully.
He had surgery on his hip last year.
Jus.
The chef prepared a delicious beef jus.
The jus added rich flavor to the dish.
Misgiving.
His misgivings were evident in his expression.
She had a misgiving about the new plan.
Annual.
They host an annual festival in the summer.
She renewed her annual membership.
Lineage.
The royal family has a long lineage.
He traced his lineage back to medieval times.
Bonus.
Employees received a bonus at the end of the year.
The game has a bonus level that is very challenging.
Moose.
The mousse was light and fluffy.
She made a chocolate mousse for dessert.
Diaphragm.
The singer trained to control her diaphragm.
The diaphragm helps with breathing.
Reed.
The lake was surrounded by tall reeds.
He played a tune on the reed instrument.
Encrypt.
They used software to encrypt the sensitive data.
The message was encrypted to ensure privacy.
Adhere.
The glue will adhere to most surfaces.
Please adhere to the guidelines provided.
Disincentive.
High taxes can act as a disincentive for businesses.
The penalty serves as a disincentive for rule breaking.
Bounty.
There was a bounty on the fugitive's head.
The garden produced a bounty of fresh vegetables.
Tenet.
One major tenet of the religion is compassion.
They adhere to the basic tenets of democracy.
Prescribe.
He was prescribed a course of antibiotics.
The doctor will prescribe medication for your condition.
Pluck.
She began to pluck the strings of the guitar.
They pluck fresh herbs from the garden.
Exacted.
They exacted revenge on their enemies.
The war exacted a heavy toll on the population.
Verify.
Please verify your email address to continue.
The accountant will verify the financial statements.
Seer.
The sun's rays sear the desert sand.
He used a hot pan to sear the steak.
Potency.
The potency of the drug was much higher than expected.
They tested the potency of the new formula.
Onus.
He felt the onus of responsibility.
The onus is on you to provide evidence.
Vulnerable.
The elderly are more vulnerable to illness.
She felt vulnerable after sharing her story.
Molten.
The molten metal was poured into the mold.
The volcano spewed molten lava.
Peregrine.
The peregrine falcon is known for its speed.
They watched a peregrine dive for its prey.
Repress.
The regime sought to repress any dissent.
He tried to repress his emotions.
Sample.
They took a sample of the water for testing.
The sample size was too small to draw conclusions.
Shortcut.
The shortcut saved them a lot of time.
He took a shortcut to avoid traffic.
Acronym.
NATO is an acronym for North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
The acronym ASAP stands for as soon as possible.
Lob.
She managed to lob a stone into the lake.
He tried to lob the ball over the net.
Induct.
They will induct the new members at the ceremony.
He was inducted into the Hall of Fame last year.
Notch.
The team's performance moved up a notch this season.
She made a notch on the tree to mark the spot.
Abbreviate.
People often abbreviate Mr. to Mr.
It's common to abbreviate long words in text messages.
Lotus.
They admired the blooming lotus in the pond.
The lotus flower is a symbol of purity in many cultures.
Megawatt.
The power plant generates over a megawatt of electricity.
They installed a new turbine with a capacity of 1 megawatt.
Layer.
The cake has a layer of cream in the middle.
She wore a layer of clothing to stay warm.
Commodore.
He was promoted to the rank of Commodore in the Navy.
The Commodore led the fleet into battle.
Blend.
The artist tried to blend different colors on the canvas.
She likes to blend fruits to make a smoothie.
Puritan.
The Puritans were known for their strict religious beliefs.
He was raised in a Puritan household.
Miscellaneous.
They discussed miscellaneous topics during the meeting.
The drawer was full of miscellaneous items.
Atrophy.
Lack of exercise can cause muscle atrophy.
The old building showed signs of atrophy and neglect.
Bead.
Sweat formed a bead on his forehead.
She wore a necklace made of colorful beads.
Repetitive.
The job involved many repetitive tasks.
The song has a repetitive chorus.
Disinterested.
She felt disinterested in the conversation.
The judge remained disinterested and impartial.
Navigate.
He used a map to navigate through the city.
They had to navigate the rough waters carefully.
Paddy.
They harvested rice from the paddy.
The farmers worked in the paddy fields.
Waft.
The scent of flowers began to waft through the open window.
She felt a cool breeze waft across her face.
Celebrity.
She enjoyed her status as a celebrity.
The celebrity was surrounded by fans.
Miserable.
He felt miserable after losing his job.
The weather was miserable and rainy.
Thug.
The police arrested a notorious thug.
The thug threatened the shopkeeper.
Matron.
The matron of the school was very strict.
She spoke to the hospital matron about her concerns.
Coherence.
The essay was praised for its coherence.
His argument lacked coherence.
Solicit.
They planned to solicit donations for the charity.
She was hired to solicit feedback from customers.
Mole.
She needs time to mull the proposal.
He began to mull over the idea of moving abroad.
Modest.
He lived in a modest house.
She was modest about her achievements.
Outnumber.
In the debate, the supporters greatly outnumbered the opponents.
The visitors began to outnumber the locals.
Bibliography.
The book includes a detailed bibliography.
She spent hours compiling her bibliography.
Anonymous.
She made an anonymous donation to the charity.
The letter was signed by an anonymous author.
Arc.
The rainbow formed a beautiful arc across the sky.
He drew an arc with his pencil.
Genealogy.
They were interested in the genealogy of their family.
She traced her genealogy back several generations.
Summary.
The report includes a brief summary of the findings.
He gave a summary of the book to the class.
Pentagon.
The shape of a pentagon has 5 sides.
The Pentagon is the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense.
Hen.
The hen laid 3 eggs today.
They have a hen house in their backyard.
Detest.
He couldn't hide his detest for the unfair policy.
She began to detest the long commute.
Plush.
The hotel room had a plush carpet.
She bought a plush teddy bear for her niece.
Certificate.
They displayed their marriage certificate proudly.
She received a certificate for completing the course.
Tumble.
She watched the leaves tumble in the wind.
He took a tumble down the stairs.
Spruce.
The garden looked spruce and well-maintained.
They decided to spruce up the living room.
Veterinarian.
She took her dog to the veterinarian for a checkup.
The veterinarian specializes in treating large animals.
Dreadful.
He felt a dreadful pain in his stomach.
The movie was so dreadful that they left early.
Germ.
Washing your hands helps prevent the spread of germs.
He was careful not to touch anything to avoid germs.
Stripe.
She wore a shirt with a red stripe.
The tiger has a distinctive stripe pattern.
Jubilee.
They celebrated their golden jubilee with a big party.
The Jubilee marked 50 years of the company's success.
Relevant.
She tried to make her speech relevant to the audience.
The information was not relevant to the topic.
Vibe.
The cafe had a cozy vibe.
He didn't like the vibe of the place.
Martin.
They spotted a marten in the forest.
The marten is a small, weasel-like animal.
Ample.
There was ample food for everyone.
She has an ample supply of books.
Pendulum.
His mood swings like a pendulum.
The pendulum of the clock swung back and forth.
Ferment.
The grape juice will ferment to become wine.
The political situation began to ferment unrest.
Grape.
The vineyard produces high-quality grapes.
He ate a bunch of grapes.
Receptive.
She was receptive to new ideas.
The audience was very receptive to the performance.
Cabaret.
The cabaret was filled with music and laughter.
They went to a cabaret show last night.
Fetish.
He has a shoe fetish.
Collecting stamps became his fetish.
Belligerent.
The belligerent nations signed a peace treaty.
His belligerent attitude caused many arguments.
Intuitive.
She has an intuitive understanding of technology.
His decision-making process is highly intuitive.
Assemble.
The team assembled for a meeting.
They will assemble the new furniture tomorrow.
Light.
She prefers the light version of the software.
They offered a light menu option at the restaurant.
Revs.
He likes to hear the engine revs when he accelerates.
The car revs up before a race.
Twofold.
The benefits of the project are twofold: economic and environmental.
The impact was twofold, affecting both the city and the countryside.
Haste.
The project was completed in haste and lacked quality.
In his haste, he forgot his keys.
Exclusion.
The policy led to the exclusion of several groups.
He felt the exclusion from the team keenly.
Canal.
The city is famous for its historic canal system.
They took a boat ride along the canal.
Graft.
The surgeon performed a skin graft.
The politician was accused of graft and corruption.
Crypt.
The family crypt contained several tombs.
They explored the ancient crypt under the church.
Predecessor.
The new model is faster than its predecessor.
Her predecessor left a detailed guide.
Explode.
The balloon exploded when it hit a sharp object.
The fireworks will explode at midnight.
Streamline.
They want to streamline the production process.
The new software helps to streamline tasks.
Capillary.
Capillary action helps plants absorb water.
The capillary tubes were used in the experiment.
Imperial.
The imperial palace was a sight to behold.
He studied the imperial history of ancient Rome.
Blink.
The light began to blink on and off.
She tried not to blink during the staring contest.
Customize.
You can customize your computer settings.
They offer services to customize your car.
Blemish.
The table had a small blemish on its surface.
She covered the blemish with makeup.
Tuxedo.
He wore a tuxedo to the wedding.
The tuxedo fit him perfectly.
Model.
The artist used a technique to model the paint.
The surface was modeled with different colors.
Thorough.
She conducted a thorough investigation.
His work is always thorough and precise.
Persona.
Her public persona is very different from her private self.
He adopted a new persona for his online presence.
Doctorate.
She earned her doctorate in physics.
He is working towards his doctorate degree.
Decade.
The company celebrated a decade of success.
They have been friends for over a decade.
Novel.
She is writing a new novel.
His approach to the problem was quite novel.
Dupe.
She felt like a dupe after realizing the truth.
They tried to dupe him into buying a fake product.
Brethren.
He considered his colleagues as brethren.
The monks referred to each other as brethren.
Naive.
His naive optimism was refreshing.
She was too naive to see through the scam.
Biochemical.
They studied the biochemical processes of the cell.
The biochemical analysis revealed important information.
Helm.
She steered the ship from the helm.
He took the helm of the company after the CEO retired.
Lattice.
The garden had a lattice fence.
He admired the intricate lattice work on the windows.
Fantasy.
His fantasy of becoming a superhero was amusing.
She enjoys reading fantasy novels.
Livelihood.
Fishing is their main livelihood.
She struggled to maintain her livelihood.
Peruse.
She decided to peruse the book before buying it.
He likes to peruse the newspaper in the morning.
Metastasis.
The doctor explained the risk of metastasis with cancer.
Metastasis often complicates treatment options.
Jaunt.
His short jaunt to the beach was relaxing.
They went on a weekend jaunt to the countryside.
Dialysis.
He needs to undergo dialysis 3 times a week.
The hospital has a special unit for dialysis patients.
Kip.
She found a quiet corner for a brief kip.
He decided to take a quick kip before dinner.
Metaphor.
He used a metaphor to explain his feelings.
The poem is rich in metaphor.
Ketchup.
He prefers mustard over ketchup.
She added ketchup to her fries.
Amplify.
The speakers will amplify the sound.
She tried to amplify her message through social media.
Amino.
They studied the structure of amino compounds.
Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins.
Carpenter.
The carpenter built a new table.
He hired a carpenter to fix the door.
Bewitch.
The beautiful scenery seemed to bewitch her.
The magician tried to bewitch the audience.